And now back to me. I get my water. Ah, that was just great. Thank you. Okay, let's look at some of those lyrics. Ready? I am unwritten, can't read my mind, I'm undefined. Okay, so here's something I'm going to tell you. Everyone in this room is unwritten. Would you agree with me? Yes. And yet, you're doing the most incredible job trying to write yourself. Do you ever feel like that? You're trying to write who you are and tell the world who you are. And you are working so hard. I know I have spent years trying to write it down and force feed you exactly who I am. Anyone ever feel like that? Yes. Yeah, and yet we are unwritten. Every single one of us is unwritten if we allow ourselves to be. You, as the divine energy that we call God, or whatever you want to call it, you as that divine energy is unwritten. You're fluid. Energy is fluid. Our bodies, our minds, everything about us is a fluid energy moving through life because it is life constantly moving. So for us to decide, I am this, is like putting a stick in a river and expecting it to like go with the water. It's not going to, because you stuck it in and said, this is who I am. No, you are the water. You are the ocean. You are everything that life is, you are. That's the truth. And when we try to control it and try to say, here's what I am, we just get in our own ways. So this month is all about embracing the adventure, but the adventure has to be about going with the flow of life, allowing life to live through us. It was very interesting. You all know that I have a thing with snorkeling. And so whenever I go on a vacation that includes snorkeling, or to a place where snorkeling is just the thing to do. So I just came back from Maui, and snorkeling is just the thing to do. So my husband and Al and Marcy, they did such a beautiful job trying to help me to do a different type of snorkeling that might work for me. So we realized there was this thing called snuba-ing. And it's scuba-ing and snorkeling. Now, the only thing worse than snorkeling for me is scuba diving. I mean, really. Being attached to something and sent into the water to sink to the bottom, I don't know, something in me says no. So, but you know what? I tried it in the pool, and it seemed okay. In a pool that I could stand up and the water was to about here. Seemed fine. So I said, you know what? Embrace the adventure. You are snuba-ing. It's who you are. And so I just went along with it as far as I could. I went along with it, and I just kept saying, yeah, and you had to fill out a form where it tells you if this has happened to you, you can't do it. I came up with every reason. I was like, well, I've had that problem. And so I told her a couple of the problems I had. She went, those are okay. I'm like, so now envision this. We're all in our beautiful outfits, by the way. I do like how you look when you're about to scuba dive. Yeah, I looked fabulous. And so we all walked down to the beach, and they attach you. First, they attached me to something, to a thing, a lifeline, if you would. And now we're all walking towards the water, attached, all five of us attached to these two little snuba boats. And we're walking, and the water's getting higher and higher. And it got to right about here. I went, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And I'm like, get it off me, get it off me. And I'm pulling things. Yeah. And Kevin and Marcy now are like, really? We got this far. Marcy was great, because she was like this close to being in my shoes. And she was, I felt so bad for her. I thought, she's next. She's going to be like, get me out of here too. I can't do this either. But she didn't. And so the three of them went snorkeling, snoobing. I detached and fell back onto the dry beach, where I sat and watched them snorkel, because they were going about from here to there. But the water was going to be over their heads, so it wasn't working for me. And I'm just watching them go up and down and snorkel, and I'm sitting on the beach, and I'm thinking, what is it? What is it? And as I was preparing this talk, I was like, oh, that's what it is. I just have this thing about being constricted in any way. I don't want to be held down. I don't want to be held down. Trying to be authentic here. I don't want to be held down. I don't want to be tied up. I don't, any of it. I don't. Okay, let me try to get back to this talk. I don't like being constricted, you know, and I don't like, I like to depend on me, and it depends on the nature and the earth. And if nature wanted me to breathe underwater, it would have given me fins. And so I felt like, whatever. I also have a problem with the fins, the feet things. They tried to put those on me, and I was like, not happening. I have nice little shoes that walk in the water. We're going to stick with those. And she was great. She was like, that's no problem. You won't swim as well. I went, who cares? I'm probably not making it there anyway. So the whole point, the reason why I'm bringing up this story in this talk is because I really did get a sense on the beach. And every morning I woke up and jogged on the beach and meditated on the beach. And it's funny because the morning we did the snooping, or they did it, as I'm jogging on the beach, the woman's coming past me with all the equipment. And she was like, I'll see you in a bit. I went, oh, don't think so. So I really had already made up my mind, but I wanted to go as far as I could go. And so, no matter what you think you are, no matter who you think you are, something in you knows what is the best moment for you. Even when you write it on a document and sign it, I am snooping today, and I signed my life over to you, and I won't sue you. I signed all those papers. But it doesn't matter. What you write is not as important as what is being written from within you. And I had the most beautiful 45 minutes while they were snooping on the beach, watching and feeling. And I actually did go into the water, since I was dressed for it, with that thing on it that was not attached to anything else, and just laid around and just snorkeled. And I saw one fish. I did. It was this tiny little fish that seemed to have gotten lost. And I was like, I feel your pain. You know, so it was a beautiful experience. You know, and I thought, I have been to the aquarium. I've seen all of these fish. I see them all. You know when you go to the aquarium and they're all around you, but you're in a safe space with air? I've seen it all. So, no matter what you think you are writing, or what you're trying to force yourself to do, there's something inside of you that knows where you need to be and what you need to be doing. Another one of the lyrics is, I'm just beginning. The pen is in my hand, ending unplanned. One of the things we teach in this science is, or one of the things we have taught in this science is that you can change your life, change your thinking, change your life. It's really change your beliefs. That will inform your thinking and your life will change. So we are taught that we can do that. Change our beliefs, change our life. And yet, the truth is, we really cannot go out here and micromanage. We can't. That never does anything for us. To go out here and try to change things in the relative world, ever try to change other people? It generally doesn't work. And they generally leave you in the end because they're so not interested in being controlled. You can't change it from out here. The only thing you can do is work with your own mind. And I'm beginning to understand we don't even change our minds. We don't. It's not about changing my mind. It's about opening my mind up to what is already there. And stop trying to emphatically change it myself. I'm just beginning, the pen's in my hand, the ending is unplanned, and I'm fine with it that way. So we are taught to drive ourselves towards the end result of things. And yet, in the reality of all things, there is no end result to anything. There's only a journey. Embrace the adventure. Another name for adventure is journey. Embrace the journey. There's no ending result. There's no end result. And people would say, yes, there is. You die. But that's not the end. Death is not the end. When I was here a couple of weeks ago, I didn't really talk about what was going on in my life, but I shared with you that something was going on. And I was working with some people who had just lost their children. a dear, 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 dear couple, beautiful couple, who had just lost their newborns, twins. And so I went right from here to the hospital and saw these babies fully formed, fully of a lot, I mean, fully realized, but only here for a few hours. Now, as sad as that may sound and seem, and it certainly is a loss for the parents, what I know is that life didn't end there. That life spent 9 months doing what it did and then went on. And I understand that. I understand that so clearly, so vibrantly, that I can sit in that energy of all the loss around me and still know that truth. That's who we can be. Because if we're willing to not know what we think we know and stay open to what there is to know, I guarantee you, God, love, energy, whatever you want to call it, will always bubble up and inform you. That's what we get to do. That's who we get to be. So this month, embracing the adventure, the greatest adventure, the most intrinsic part of the journey is change. Now, I know a lot of you here have trouble with change, but change is your very nature. Everything about you is changing. You are not the same person you were before I started talking. You have changed because you've been, hopefully, most of you listening. And things change. Ideas change. Realities change. Change is not only good, we hear that all the time, change is good, but I want to get rid of good and bad. Change is your very nature. Everything changes every single moment. And one of the biggest problems with life is that we struggle to keep things the same. We fight to not change. We fight to keep it the way it was. And very often, we spend all this time trying to reclaim what this was. And we even act like that. We spend all this energy trying to keep ourselves in something that no longer exists. Do y'all get that? The fluidity of who you are, and that includes all of our problems. We're still holding on to all of them. We're still trying to solve them. We're still talking them out. We're still sharing them with everybody we know. And yet, it's the past. It doesn't exist. Trying to keep things the way they are and not change is one of the most futile uses of your life that you will ever engage in. So, when I say embrace the journey, I mean embrace the change. Embrace things as they change. Now, the truth is, it's not always happy. It doesn't always feel good. The title of my talk today is, and it just keeps getting better. Right? Right is part of the talk title. And it just keeps getting better, right? So the reason why that's the talk title is because you either do or you do not believe that your life is unfolding perfectly. And if you believe your life is unfolding perfectly, then yes, it just keeps getting better. Because if you believe your life is unfolding perfectly, then it just keeps getting better. And now you can stop overreacting to all the change that's going on around you. You can stop, in fact, reacting to the change that's going on around you. You can still feel what you feel, but do you know, underneath it all, that life is unfolding perfectly? That's the question. Because if you do, then you can sit in the middle of all the energy of the universe that may be going awry and still know the truth. So, lyrics. Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you could not find. So we sometimes live in houses with dirty windows. Does anybody have any dirty windows in their houses right now? Right. So I want to use this as a metaphor. So sometimes we live in minds that are like houses with dirty windows. And they're so dirty that we begin to believe the view that these windows show us. And we begin to think that is the view. So here's the view of my backyard with these dirty windows, and the dirt is part of the view. But that's not the case. And what's really interesting is, when the sun comes out at my house, I am very clear on what a bad job was done on my windows. Because the sun comes up and shows me that these windows are extraordinarily streaked. At nighttime, in the dark, they kind of look okay. But in the daytime, in the sun, in the light, get the metaphor here? When the light comes out, it shows us. So what do we get to do? Now, most of you are probably going to think you clean your windows. I'm going to suggest you go outside and forget about the windows and step into the light itself and not pay attention to, not bother with, not worry about those dirty windows. This is metaphorically. If you have a house, clean your windows. But metaphorically speaking, stop spending lives. We all need to stop spending our lives looking through minds that are dirty from the past, that are still streaked with all the stuff from the past, because we don't have to. We really genuinely don't have to. You can drop something like that if you're willing to drop it by going away from the window and stepping out into the light. Clean the windows, change the view. So, drench yourself, I love this. Drench yourself with words unspoken. Live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins. The rest is still unwritten. Drench yourself with words unspoken. That's what I did on that beach, I have to be honest. I could have sat on that beach and said to myself, unbelievable, you did it again. You set yourself up for failure and you failed. And I got to tell you, I didn't feel that way at all. I didn't. I sat on that beach, had a great time, laid in the water, saw that little one fish, we had a moment, and then I went back to the beach and I just laid on the beach and I waited. And I said, you have a choice here. You can feel like you failed because you wanted to try that, or you can say, I did try that. It doesn't work for me. And look where I am now. That's the choice we get to have. Drench yourself with words unspoken. I laid on that beach. So much went through my mind. Probably a lot more than would have went through my mind in the 45 minutes where I was literally struggling to stay alive. Because that's what would have happened. I would have heard once, and that's it. I'd be done. Instead, I'm on the beach going, life is good. Life is good, and I'm good in it. Live your life, and I love this. And when Lee sang it too, she has such joy when she sings. Live your life with arms wide open. It's so easy to live our lives like this, or like this, you know, or like this, or like this. It's just so easy to do that. But this is vulnerable. This is vulnerable. Have at me. Have at me, life. Because nothing you can bring me is bigger than I am. Nothing you can bring me. And that's what Laurie Donato just got up here and talked about. And I have met with Laurie during this whole challenge, and I mean challenge in a positive way. And I've watched this woman go from terror to truth and back again, and then back to truth. But I will tell you this about Laurie Donato, and this is why it was so easy to be a part of this for her. She may go from terror to truth and back again, but underneath it all, she lives the my life is unfolding perfectly. And from that, nothing changes. You can still feel terror. You can still feel upset. You can still feel everything you feel, but this doesn't change. It's when this consistently changes that you feel like a feather in the wind. Today is where your book begins. The rest is unwritten. So I have a question for you. Are you afraid of what is unwritten in your life? Are you afraid? Do you have fear about what is coming up? Do you have any fear about what may be written in your life as your life unfolds? Because I'm here today to quell those fears and to tell you, fear nothing. Fear nothing. You are writing your life. And when I say you, I don't mean your cognitive mind. I mean that in you that knows is writing itself through you. And if you know that, then you can literally live a life where you fear nothing. You know, we don't have a building yet to go to. This building is sold. It will go to its new owners either February or March. And we don't have a place yet. And I am looking. I've been to a number of places. I went to a few places yesterday. Friday. I walk in, I know. And I don't walk in thinking, I got to find a place, ever. I know that my life unfolds perfectly. And if my life unfolds perfectly, this church unfolds perfectly. That's what I know. Because in the end, I'm the one that has to be happy with where we go first. And then all of you have to be happy. But if I'm happy, you're probably going to be happy because I have very high standards. So I know this. So I am not afraid of what is going to be written on the pages of this center's life. I'm just not. I am not afraid of what's coming next. And I don't know what's coming next. So the fear of uncertainty needs to be eliminated from our lives if we are willing to lead our lives with arms wide open. People make changes all the time. Someone at our Christmas party mentioned to me how much this church has changed in the last couple of years. And the thing about that is, yes, this church has changed a lot in the last couple of years. I mean, Reverend Rita and Reverend Patrick are in Kauai. Reverend Jonathan is in Toronto. A lot of things have shifted and changed. Things change all the time. But what I know is it always changes for the best, regardless of how it looks. It is always moving itself forward. It is always unfolding perfectly. My life is always on a trajectory of the highest expression of me. Why would I have been born if I was not born to bless everything in this universe as I move through life? Why would I have been born to have, and born with all of this, all of these talents? Why would you have been born with all the talents you have just so the universe can say, not interested? It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And when you know that, then when someone says to you, not interested, who gives a? It just shouldn't matter. It means that's not right for me. Next. To all you actors out there, every time you go to an audition, just show up with your arms wide open and say, here's who I am. And if they say, we want someone else, thanks, great adventure. And move on. But we get stuck right here. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, what did I do wrong? What can I do next time? How can I fix this? We go out there to fix it when everything you need is right here, and right here in your heart. So, are you afraid that things may change in your life for the worst? Do you even leave room? Thank you, Aaron. Aaron's sitting here going, nope. And that's so powerful and positive and provocative in ways that we haven't even begun to think of yet. Living our lives from that place where we don't even possibly engage in or even think it's possible for anything to not be what it's going to be, perfectly aligned in my life. So, are you afraid that things may not be better? Is there really such a thing as worse? Is there really such a thing as good and bad? Can you ever really make a wrong decision? You know, Ernest Holmes says in the book, no mistakes have been made, none are being made, no mistakes have been made, none are being made, and none ever will be made. How many of you can point to things in your life and say, well, that was a mistake? Ripsme, I love you. No one raised their hand but Ripsme. And I know all of you could raise your hand. How many of you could raise your hand if I said you pointed to a mistake? Right, me too. I could point to things and go, well, that was a mistake. But you know what? In the end, it wasn't. Because if it was, then my life wasn't unfolding perfectly, was it? Something must have happened. However, and I'm going to turn this on you now. However, what if mistakes are actually part of life unfolding perfectly? What if what we call mistakes are actually the inevitable conclusion, the inevitable consequence of the way we're using our mind in order to use it a different way? So then mistakes don't have any of that energy that they usually have. Your life is either unfolding perfectly or it isn't. So, sometimes my tries are outside the lines. We've been conditioned to not make mistakes, but I can't live that way. So embrace the adventure, embracing the advent, the expectation of you are everything. That's what this month is. Embracing the adventure, embracing the moment when you really get it that you are everything. Not just a little piece of it. You're not just a wave of the ocean. You're not just a grain of sand on the beach. You are the entire beach, the entire ocean, the snooping, all of it. You're the stuff they put on you. I was going to say you're the birds in the ocean, the ones that have died and fallen to the ground. You are all of it. You are all of it. That's what we need to embrace. It just keeps getting better. So I want to read you something that was written by Rashid Agunlara. And I don't know if that's the correct spelling, but he's a British life coach that I found, and I read some of his stuff. And here's a quote of his, and he says this: "There are ultimately two choices in life, to fight it or to embrace it. If you fight it, you will lose. If you embrace it, you become one with it, and you will be lived by it." Now think about that. Two choices in life. Fight what's going on or embrace what's going on. That doesn't change what's going on. Do you notice that? That's a big part of this. It doesn't change what's going on. I can embrace what's going on and recognize that everything that's going on, the riots, the peace marches, everything that's going on in this entire universe is part of the oneness that I am. You know, we had a brilliant ministerial class this Thursday night. Our ministerial, the new ministers coming up have such provocative minds, and that class is just pushing me. While I may seem like I'm pushing them, they are pushing me into many different directions. And one of the things came up was the idea of, should we be paying attention to what's going on in the world, or should we be holding the high watch? And the answer is yes. Yes. You should be paying attention to what's going on in the world, if that's what you are all about, and you should be embracing the high watch, if that's what you are all about. And more importantly, you should be able to embrace the high watch and take that to whatever's going on in the world, so that the world benefits from your healing. And it's a process, and I get that. So that's really what I'm here to talk about today. This whole idea, it just keeps getting better, right? So I'm going to ask you the question. It just keeps getting better, right? Right. Okay. Now, you either believe it or you don't, or you believe it to a certain degree and perhaps you don't. Change is the very nature of who and what we are. Good is the very nature of who and what we are. So, embracing your nature means that you have to embrace the good and the change. Be willing to embrace the changes in your life and stop coming from a place of what it's taking away from you, and start understanding that if something is changing, it must be for your higher good. What is there for me to get out of this? Where am I to grow from this? Where am I to expand from this? Because I can only tell you, the more I try to fit into a box, the more I have experiences like I had on that beach, where I am just being tied to things that perhaps no longer fit me, perhaps no longer work for me, ideas, philosophies, beliefs. I believe Ernest Holmes was one of the greatest minds that ever walked this planet. And I believe that because I think Ernest Holmes tapped into all the great minds he could find. He didn't just say, here's how it is. He tapped into everything there was to find, which means that our job is to tap into everything we can find. Every great teacher, every great philosophy, every great wisdom, every great knowing, every great person that we can connect with. What is there for me to know here? That's what I want this center to be about. That's why I'm so excited that we keep expanding. And that's also why I'm not finding what I want yet, because it hasn't shown up yet. And when it does, I will walk in like I did with this building. Remember, this building was hideous when I walked into it 11 years ago. It literally was hideous. And I walked into it, and something in my heart said, this is it. And we didn't have it. We didn't get it. So my board vetoed it, to be honest. And so we went to another space that fell through. We ended up back here because this was the only one left. And we walked in, and I was like, well, I don't care how we did it, but we're here. And we've been here for 11 years. And this was unwritten when we got it. It was unwritten what this building was going to be. It is now like the hub of North Hollywood. We were smart to call it the NoHo Arts Center because it became the hub. And wherever we go next, we will be at the center of wherever that hub is, because that's who we are. Each one of us. We are the center of our own lives. So, does it just keep getting better? Yes, it does. And it just keeps getting better, and it just keeps changing. And it's going to keep changing. So we have to be okay with change. Here's what I know. No matter what, and you all know those three of my favorite words, no matter what. No matter what, who I am will not change. Not the depth and breadth and truth of me. That will never change. I am God. And everything that God stands for. That will never change. Everything else changes. Everything else changes, because one of the inherent qualities of I am God is that I am constantly evolving, growing, expanding. So I'm here today to say to you, yes, it's always getting better. Trust me. And to invite you to join me, to allow all of us here in this center to continue to change and expand and grow and be at the core of who we are, that divine nature, that divine understanding that life is not only unfolding perfectly, but it's unfolding perfectly through me and through you. Namaste.